Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for another Saltcast IRL. I am your fill-in host, Matthew Caters, the producer of the show. Alex has decided to leave the country for unknown reasons, but we expect him to be back sometime. Hopefully, his children will miss him. But today, we've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. But before we get into that, I want to introduce my fantastic panel of nerds for this Tuesday afternoon, starting with Matt Vader 74, the technology wizard himself.
The tech wizard.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm teching. I'm failing. I'm failing at teching. Hi.
As usual. Yes.
What are we talking about today? Stuff,
things,
nerd stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And with us to talk about things and stuff is our fill-in host, Nadia, for Jude.
Hello, everyone.
Our
I'm glad I'm back. Glad I didn't get kicked out of the club.
No.
Yes, everyone knows that Jude hates doing live streams, so it's very gracious of you to sit in for her. We appreciate having some female perspective on the show. And of course, our special guest today is reporter extraordinaire Christian Toto of Hollywood in Toto, a great kind of, I guess you call it conservative entertainment website, Christian. How would you describe it?
It's the right take on entertainment. And by the way, you asked the most boring background possible, and I think I've delivered. So I just want to say you're welcome.
You are, yes. When Alex isn't here, I prefer boring. I bring the show down to a Kadish level. Yeah. In fact,
I like that opening better than Alex sometimes does. Yeah.
Alex just kind of starts.
Yeah.
But you, Nadia, you were just telling me how hard it is to actually produce a live stream.
Yes, I haven't even produced my first live stream, and it's very hard to organize the first one that I'm putting together.
She came walking in today. She's like, "Man, I got a whole new respect for you."
She did. This is very true.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know what goes on producing.
I just tell her, do your shit, do your thing.
Says Vader.
It'll be good. It'll work out. It'll all be fine.
Yeah. Vader's like, don't give Kadish too much credit.
Yeah,
it goes right to his head.
Don't ever stroke his ego. Don't ever do that. Bad things happen.
So, Christian, what have you been noticing in Hollywood lately? You kind of have your pulse on things over there. Is there anything in particular that hasn't quite hit the headlines yet that we need to be aware of?
I think the lack of interest in the two strikes in Hollywood is intriguing to me. I don't think anyone is sweating the details except for the people involved. But also, I've been really curious about the media's reaction to two renegade pop culture items, both the Sound of Freedom movie and also Oliver Anthony's Rich Men North of Richmond. It's just so fascinating to see the collective outcries and attacks on those two properties. When you think, these are wonderful stories. This is an independent film that came out of nowhere to beat up on Indiana Jones and Ethan Hunt. And you got this song by a literal overnight sensation. And you think that the media would be celebrating these stories because they're so remarkable, but you've seen the opposite. So I think that speaks volumes about where we are as a culture right now.
Well, it's interesting that you should talk about the lack of support for the strikes, because that's one of the things that I want to talk about today, especially with you on the panel. So I've been reading a lot of interesting articles about the current state of the Hollywood strikes. And basically, it runs the gamut. So there was this one article that talks about how the public overwhelmingly supports the strikes. But then you read the article and it says of the 1,000 people surveyed, 47% support the strikes or something like that. And then you have these articles about how actors from the SAG unions are having to work at Target in order to pay rent and stuff like that, and how everyone is just wanting the strike to be over. Then you see the articles that talk about how the studio's strategy is basically just to wait until these people are desperate enough to agree to anything, because they're like, hey, we got lots of money. We can sit on this for as long as we need to until you guys, kind of fold. And there had been some kind of hopeful signs for meetings recently, but then all that stuff kind of went by the wayside, and it seems like it's just being dragged on. What's your take on, number one, when you think the strikes are probably going to be resolved, and number two, why the public just seems so apathetic towards this?
I'll start with the public first, because they don't see any difference. Besides the late night shows going dark, and isn't that a blessing? There's not really much change. I mean, movies are coming in theaters. There's still new content coming to streaming platforms. So you don't really feel the pinch yet on a consumer level. So there's that. And also, the sad thing is that most of the actors are not George Clooney and not Meryl Streep, and they're workaday people just trying to make a living. And the people who make the billions, they get all the headlines. So I certainly have sympathy for people who are in a system where they're trying to squeeze you, but them's the breaks, and this is the industry you picked. And it's hard to feel badly for the studio heads because they've got oodles of money and they don't seem to like half the country. So there's a lot of reasons for a lot of disdain going on here. As far as when it's going to wrap up, gosh, I don't know. They don't seem to meet a lot. I feel like the Writers Guild and the studios have been meeting more recently, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. And I guess the other wrinkle here is that they're saying that not having the actors available to promote the product is hurting the box office. But I don't even know if that's the case. Because, I mean, you see a lot of big name star movies and they flop dramatically. They're out there pressing the flesh and talking to everybody. So I don't know. It's a lot of
cases, I don't mean to interrupt you. I was saying in some cases, these movies are probably doing better.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Without these actors not out there running their mouths in front of these reporters.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think half the times the actors do a disservice to the movies they're trying to promote. The bottom line is like when Tom Hanks goes on a couch on late night TV, he's not bored. He can hang out with Rita Wilson. He's fine. He's promoting his movie. And there's so many stars who do it badly. Either they insult the audience, they get hyper political, they pull a Rachel Zegler where they make fun of the source material, a la Snow White. So maybe when the strike ends, they could figure out why they're promoting their films and do it better. I think that'd be nice.
Rachel Zegler, the new Brie Larson.
Brie Larson 2.0.
Yeah, Brie Larson's
she's actually worse.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel Zegler has personally given enough content to the YouTube community
for years
to come. Yeah. Like they're going to buy some cars off of her, I think. Nadia, what do you think is the reason why the public just in general doesn't seem to care about these strikes?
Because for the longest, these writers and actors have been against the public. They have made fun of or attacked fans multiple times. They don't respect the IP source that they're given. Whole lot of things. Like, I don't want anybody to lose their house, their livelihood, but at the same time, what do you expect when you've constantly been punching at fans for the last couple of years?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that a lot of the stuff coming out of Hollywood has been very crappy,
bad.
Yeah, they don't respect what they're working on.
Yeah, and I think the general public sees these people who make substandard fare demanding more money.
Yeah,
and they're just kind of like, screw you guys.
When I see the writers for things like She-Hulk, or most of this Disney Plus stuff,
or even The Witcher too lately,
The Witcher, any of these people out there, and they're screaming about deserving and wanting more money. I'm like, no. I know I can't relate. I don't know how the industry works, but you're not making a good case for yourself when this is the kind of stuff you're putting out and you want more money. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm down here making so much an hour and it's way less than what you make. I'm living. Go pound rocks. Get a real job, I guess. I don't know what else to say, because this stuff that has been coming out, with a few exceptions, is just, it's not good. It's not good. It's not entertaining. It's infused with modern politics and woke nonsense and crap, and I just can't watch most of it. So,
well, do you think for the while they've looked at it as just another paycheck instead of actually putting heart and soul into the art that they are creating? For them, it's just like, oh, I'm a writer for She-Hulk, so it's going to be a bigger payoff. Let me just get by, instead of actually putting the heart and soul into all of this media that they've contribute to.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you where I'm coming from, and I'd like Christian to chime in on this. Like, unlike most professions, like when it comes to the Writers Guild, for instance, most people who are writers in Hollywood never studied their craft, right? They didn't go to writer's school. They didn't get a degree in English or creative writing or anything like that. Most of them haven't even taken a seminar in writing. They just know how to like type on a keyboard and deliver words in the form of sentences. And basically everyone in Hollywood says like, I'm a writer, because they're working on a screenplay or something like that. So when it comes to getting hired as a writer on TV show, movie, whatever, a lot of it either has to do with how good your agent is or who you know. And I think most of the writers in TV writers' rooms are people who got there not based off of merit, but based off of like their connections. And when it comes time for them to actually deliver, 98% of them are really bad at their jobs. And yet they want to be paid for being good at their jobs. And I think that's the biggest issue that I personally run into when I want to support, you know, these strikes, which is I look at the writers who are striking, and I'm like, yes, they all make good points, but they're not really deserving of what they're asking for. I think most of the movie going and TV watching public probably agrees with that sentiment. What do you think, Christian?
I mean, there's a lot of junk out there, but there's also a lot of platforms and channels, so it's spread out a bit. But I think that the folks who are legitimately talented, like the Taylor Sheridans, they're pretty rare these days. I think most of them are She-Hulk writers, and any chance I get to poke fun at that show, I will just grab it, 'cause I found that just punishing. And
anything Star Trek right now?
Yeah, I haven't been catching up with Star Trek, but just I think what you're touching on before is this contempt for the audience is so fascinating to me, because it just seems really it doesn't make sense. It's like if you go to a restaurant and the server's mean to you, well, you know the server's going to get a lousy tip. So there is a bit of a disconnect there, because if you're mean to your audience and the audience doesn't show up, then you make less money and you get less projects. It's a very strange thing. What I'm really hoping for when the strikes shake out is I want more transparency. I want to find out what the numbers are, the real numbers on these streaming channels, what's actually getting eyeballs, what's not. And also the sense that, hey, the Biden economy is terrible. You got to be nicer to us. You've got to be more respectful. You have to have more gratitude. You know, I really praised Tom Cruise in recent months, even though I don't know what his personal life is. It could be a train wreck. I have no idea. But you know what? When he comes out in public, he says, you know, thank you to the fans, and he appreciates what they mean to him and how they've given him this wonderful career. And he's working his butt off to deliver on movies like Mission Impossible 28. And, you know, I like that. I don't even care he's full of it. I like it, you know? And I think that more actors should have that sense of gratitude and charm and presence about them. And I hope for a little bit of that to come back.
So, but he has a connection. He knows how to connect with the people who watch his movies. The problem with a lot of these people that are out there is they don't have any connection with the people in the real world.
They haven't been in the real world for a long time.
They live in their insulated little bubbles and think that their opinion is the only one that matters. When in reality, they're a very, very small, tiny minority of people. They just have a loud platform, you know, and they're learning, I think, finally, you know, it's the old go woke, go broke thing a little bit. That's kind of what I feel like these writers and these people on these picket lines are feeling right now, because there is not a lot of public sentiment towards these people. And you would think there would be, because, you know, big corporate overlords are picking on the little man. But, you know, I don't give a shit about either side of this strike. I really don't. I don't have any sympathy for the corporate overlords, and I don't have any compassion for these people that are on the picket line. I've never been a union guy, but you know, sometimes I feel like maybe the people on the picket lines have some legitimate gripes, and they probably do. I wouldn't want to be replaced by a AI if I was a writer. You know, I get that. I understand that. I understand these gripes, but you know, they need to. I feel to me, whether they end up getting what they want in the end is fine. But personally, I kind of want to see them have to eat a little bit of ramen, like the rest of us, before they do.
All over again.
You know, does that make sense? It's like
say it like it's a bad thing.
Well, the thing is, majority of us are eating ramen.
Yeah, we are.
Majority of us.
It costs $60 for me and my wife to go to freaking Mexican food.
But
it's insane.
That's the thing. Like, most of us are struggling right now with the economy of putting food on our own tables.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why there's not a lot of people have been caring about this strike, is because, well, I have to worry about feeding my family first. What, you know, it's kind of all man for himself kind of deal going on right now because of the economy.
I'm having such a hard time now making my mortgage payment on my 6-bedroom, 8-bath house with the pool in the backyard. It's like, oh, come on.
I'm going to have to fire my cleaning service.
But also, it's too, like, you choosing what movies you're going to go see in the theaters. That's a big debate too. Like 9 out of 10 times my husband and I are like, okay, should we stream it or should we actually go to the theaters and enjoy it in theaters? Like, and And most of the time it's okay, I want to stream it at the comfort. I already have the subscription. I'll just wait for the comfort of my own home.
Well, you guys mentioned Tom Cruise, and I think one of the interesting things about him is that he actually understands who his audience is.
Yes.
Right. Like he understands that from a business perspective, if you don't have the audience, you don't have the money. Right.
Yeah.
And there's been this trend in Hollywood, probably since 2016, where you have creatives and studios actively attack the audience for failing to connect with their message. Like Paul Feige or Feige.
Yeah.
Famously for Ghostbusters 2016 came out and attacked the audience for not liking his take on Ghostbusters.
Is that the woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that all female Ghostbusters. And so like you have this recurring pattern of Hollywood attacking the fans, and then you have a contrast to that where you have Tom Cruise saying like, hey, the fans, like, we're here because of the fans. So like it's it's a big thing. Christian, before we get to your take on that, Vader almost had a heart attack over here. So we want
Do
to.
I get my iPad now?
I'm gonna bring it up. What the dude?
Wow, William Forbes for $500.
Wow.
Nice.
He has dethroned Scotty Dub as one of our top super chatters.
Alex is gonna be so happy.
So William Forbes for $500. Can't stay long, Salty Group. Y'all are always live when I'm at work. I'm currently hiding in the restroom at work with no volume, so I can send this y'all's way. Recently found y'all a couple months ago. Love the channel, content, the humor, the people, but Vader's my fave.
Yeah.
Always is.
Keep up the good work, and I'll catch the unlive version when I get home.
That's
wow.
awesome.
William, thank you, sir.
That's
is
amazing.
That is amazing. And we're going to have a special graphic made up for you.
Yes, sir.
You are our top Tuesday.
He's our top overall by a penny.
Yeah. He beat out Scotty Dub.
49, 499.99.
Yeah. Scotty Dub. It's a good thing this wasn't on Saturday. Otherwise, Scotty'd be like.
William, thank you for that. I'm going to be holding it over everybody's head for a little while. Because
as well you should.
I was here when it happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm his favorite.
Yes.
That is awesome.
And he had to sneak away to slip us that 500.
Hopefully it was a real 500. Hopefully he didn't like miss it.
Don't jinx it.
You know, he actually
he was like, I'm missing you 50. Can you give that back?
He actually wrote, I was the best guest ever, but he ran out of space. So he just
That's
Indeed,
incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of writer strike.
Yes,
Can I share one
Forbes.
quick story? This has been circulating the last day or so. Actor Dax Shepard, who's been in everything, including Idiocracy, Parenthood, the TV show. He was on this interview on a podcast talking about financial insecurity. And he said, when he was growing up, family didn't have a lot of money, and we can all relate to that, making decisions and that sort of that feeling of stress in the family. And he said he's been thinking a lot about that now with the strike. And he indicated he understands it's not real. But then you have to think, he's Dax Shepard. He's married to Kristen Bell. Between the two of them, I can't even imagine. I thought one article said they have 40 million together. Because they must have that, because they've been working aggressively in major projects, including Frozen, for decades now. And I just thought the fact that he could even broach that subject in public is just wildly embarrassing and just showing a massive disconnect. And even if you said, gosh, when I was a kid, I struggled for money and I'm worried about the strike. I know it doesn't make sense. I would just shut up. I'm sorry. How could you even utter that?
In that same vein, I understand, because I feel like these people are kind of disconnected, and I understand it costs a lot of money to live in California. Move to Nevada if you have to.
No, send them to Utah,
don't
not Nevada.
But it's like who's the actress that played She-Hulk? Just for an example,
Tatiana
Maslany. It came out when she said some nonsense a month or so ago, a while back, and you go and you Google her net worth and everything, you find out that she's worth like $3 million, and she made 50 grand or something like that per episode of She-Hulk. I was like, I make barely a little over 50 grand in a year.
Yeah, most people don't even hit 50 grand a year.
You just made what, $300,000 for however many weeks worth it took you to make that show, and I'm sorry, but I don't feel sympathy for that. You know what I mean? I just don't.
But getting back to Christian's point, like Dax Shepard, if you ever talked about like an untalented person who doesn't deserve his
Yeah.
wealth. Like Dax Shepard is one of the least funny comedians. Like his movies have always been terrible. I haven't listened to his podcast for some reason. It seems to be popular, but like he just seems like the very epitome of why people aren't supporting the strike, which is basically you don't have the talent to back up the money you're making. Am I wrong on this, Christian?
I mean, he's okay. To me, he's interchangeable. You don't lose a project because his name is no longer attached.
But like if you look at his wife, like Kristen Bell, like she's legitimately talented.
I think she's underrated. She's a brilliant comic actress, and if she can sing, I mean, I there's some disparages there in the talent side of that relationship. But yeah, it's just to say that out loud. And again, a lot of the actors, a lot of the writers are working paycheck to paycheck like the rest of us. I get that, and I feel for them. And it's the big names that get a lot of attention, but they have brought this on themselves. And I whether this is kind of a come to Jesus moment for them where they realize that they've been behaving badly, I don't know. But we're heading into an election year, so I think any attempt for them to be kinder and gentler is going to disappear in a few months. So.
Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard, I recently saw a video of them at an airport where they got laid over, where they had to stay at the airport all night. So instead of getting a hotel, they like camped out at the airport, actually built the camp area in the corner of the airport. And I was like, this is so strange for actors to do this, where I know you could probably go get a hotel for the night. So odd to me.
I feel like them as a couple have always been kind of like more normal than most Hollywood couples.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really reflect on Dax Shepard's talent as an actor.
I'm having a hard. I'm gonna have to IMDb it.
You don't know?
Sorry.
Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I know the name. I'm just. Yeah.
You didn't see Chips? Come on, man.
Yeah. But
he's the guy that played John Baker in the new Chips movie, right? Yeah. No, I don't like that guy.
I haven't seen anything for him in a long time.
But I want to get back to this idea that Hollywood has actively been attacking their customers for like years now, almost a decade. It all started, in 2016, and it's only gotten worse over time. And they don't seem to learn the lesson that, like, hey, if you insult your customers are going to stop being your customers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we see this time and time again, especially with Star Wars. Yeah. Star Wars has been terrible about attacking it. Like if you don't like what they're doing, you're instantly some type of racist or homophobe or like
sexist.
Sexist, misogynist, like all the ists out there.
And they're getting out ahead of it too. They're making up things ahead of before even any of these shows or movies land. They're making things up ahead of time.
Oh yeah, like the chick who played Reva on Star Wars. It's like she
fans are racist, but the show hadn't come out yet. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but Christian, like you've seen, like you kind of work in the Hollywood journalism sphere, and it's very obvious that a lot of these publications are like in the tank for these studios beforehand, and they have like all this stuff planned out. Can you give us a little bit of like peeking behind the curtain in terms of like how that works exactly?
Well, I think a lot of the major publications like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, they really want to have good relationships with the studios and the actors so they can get more and more exclusives, get interviews, things like that. I think a lot of stuff may pass me by in part because of where I lean politically. So that's part of it as well. They don't want to rock the boat, but they also have they have an agenda. If an actor says, I hate Trump 20 times, then they're going to report on it 20 times, even though it's no longer news. I remember when Robert De Niro was attacking Trump at every other opportunity. Listen, he's a big star. He's a great actor. I get it. But the 20th time he says, I hate Donald Trump, I don't think that's really news. So, I mean, the fact that they keep covering it is sort of the tell there. So that's part of the problem. I don't think they want to rock the boat. I don't think they want to do investigative pieces that may may make the actors look badly. And they pick favorites. I mean, if you're Amy Schumer, you're the darling, you're the diva, you're the empowered, important actress that we're going to cover positively. But if you're Jim Caviezel, then you're QAnon adjacent, whether it's true, whether it's false, whether it's kind of true, whether it's kind of false. That's the narratives are so obvious that it's impossible to deny. And then also what I see so often, and I cover this a lot because it gets me angry, is that they just ignore stories that they don't want to cover. So initially, Oliver Anthony, the singer, they ignored it. It was a sensation that everyone knew about. Except if you read Variety, you didn't. So you had to wait a few days, and they had to figure out, well, how are we going to attack this guy? He seems pretty nice. He's an overnight sensation. He's not rich. His song isn't really political. It's more populist. What are we going to do? We'll frame it as, well, the conservative influencers are pushing the songs.
Mhm.
That's how we're going to frame it.
Yeah.
Not,
fact,
oh my gosh, this is a crazy story. This guy went from being a nobody to being at the top of the charts. That's a great story, period.
Yeah.
You don't need
fact,
identity politics or anything else on top of it.
in fact, on Saturday, we covered a Variety article talking about, how studios have been fielding a lot of box office bombs lately with Indiana Jones 5 and even Mission Impossible 7 underperformed. But they started listing movies that actually like did well. And they said Barbie, Oppenheimer, and like one other film, I forget what. But what was interesting was how they left out Sound of Freedom, which in terms of like gross to budget ratio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it was a $14 million budget and it's grossed hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's the most profitable movie of the year, and yet Variety decided to leave it out.
Yeah.
That's a great example. And I didn't realize that. That's embarrassing, honestly. If you're going to pick the summer of 23 and you're going to say, what are the big hits, and you don't mention that movie, that's embarrassing.
That's kind of the rock star of the whole summer season, right?
Yeah. Listen, Barbie is the rock star, but
maybe
Rockstar
Variety
Part
is its
2
own
is-
QAnon.
I mean,
conspiracy.
it's the Cinderella story, though, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at a movie like, for instance, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, right?
Yes.
Like that was another Sound of Freedom situation where it had a very small budget and it made hundreds of millions of dollars. And I remember when that hit, you couldn't turn on the TV or look at an industry trade without like that being like one of the lead stories. Compare that to now with Sound of Freedom, it's like, oh no, we don't want to cover this for some reason, even though it's the
How dare
message
they?
to it is like, hey, just protect children, right?
It
Yeah.
boggles my mind that this should be a movie that unites. Doesn't matter how you vote. It should be a movie that unites everyone in the cause, bringing awareness to it. We should protect children at all cost. And I don't know why someone would be totally against this movie. It makes no sense.
That's how tribal the thinking is at newspapers and magazines and websites. It's so tribal, they will pick a movie like that as the enemy, even though it's about exposing child trafficking and raising awareness. That's how ingrained they are in what they hate and what they like and what they want to do. What could be a more damning example than that? And by the way, another crazy story about Sound of Freedom, I don't know if you covered this in the show. It was crowdfunded, I think, to help promote it. I think they raised a whole bunch of money to help push it out to the masses. So they got over 6,000 people were involved in that crowdfunding, which is part of what Angel Studios does. They're the company behind the movie now. One of that 6,000 people was arrested on some sort of child-related charges. It's kind of murky. I don't think it was a big deal, but it was a little wonky at first blush. Big story. Sound of Freedom producer.
I remember this. Yep.
1 out of 6,000 people who crowdfunded the movie got in trouble, and that was a news cycle.
Well, the headlines for that were first of all, he became a film financier in the headlines. And
hey, Mr. DeMille.
What?
Yeah, they made it sound like this was the guy who financed the entire budget of Sound of Freedom, and like his whole thing, it wasn't like I don't remember exactly what it was he was charged with, but they made it sound worse than it actually was.
Yes.
And I think because Jim Caviezel is a very outspoken Christian.
Yeah.
And Angel Studios has like kind of like a Christian background to it.
Yeah.
The mainstream media instantly targeted them as bad. And so like they've gone out of their way to try to either ignore them or smear them in some way. And the whole like QAnon thing, like basically I think Jim Caviezel attended some type of event that was like sponsored by like a QAnon organization or something like that.
Do they know half the people that finance the main Hollywood movies in mainstream are not all good people? Like, I'm sure they have skeletons that in their closet that are way worse than this.
Probably, but
or at least equal.
I want to get back to some of the strike stuff. We talked about Rachel Zegler a little bit ago, Brie Larson 2.0, and she opened her mouth yet again on the picket lines where she said, if I'm on set in a Disney princess dress for 8 hours, I should get paid for every hour of that being streamed. And it just came off as like, wow, talk about entitlement.
Like streamed like somebody reporting on it?
No, no, no.
Or
If they're watching Snow White and the 7 diversity hires on Disney Plus,
and
every hour that
is
that movie
streamed.
gets streamed, she should be paid for it. And I'm like, she doesn't seem to know how economies work.
If Disney was smart, they would replace her. They would replace her.
They're not smart though.
I know.
Pull a Kevin. They should replace her with Kevin Spacey in a wig.
Or just scratch the movie entirely. Scratch it. This movie is just not going to make them money.
Yeah.
It's not. Look at how bad the press is now for it. This movie, they should just cut their losses.
Is it made? Is it done?
Are they done? I don't even think they're done yet.
They're I think that they're at the pickup stage. I think that they might have finished filming principal, but who knows?
I think it's scheduled for March 2024, but that could change for multiple reasons.
Yeah,
including
I know that the images that came out of the 7 magical creatures,
the 7 baristas.
yeah, that was a like reshoot scenario. I believe.
Didn't they try to blame it at they were stand-ins or
Well, they said they were fake at first.
but then they came out and was like, no.
Yeah, and then it was like a Georgia court trial where they basically said like, oh wait, our bad, those were real. It's very odd to me, but you have another situation here where Rachel Zegler basically opens her mouth and just comes off as completely tone deaf, and in a way, I feel like it works against the cause that they're striking for, because like it just zaps sympathy from what it is they're doing.
Nobody wants to go see this, regardless if she's Hispanic or whatever. Being the first Snow White and stuff, nobody will want to see this because she's constantly opening her mouth instead of letting the art speak for itself. Similar to with the Super Mario Brothers, when everybody was complaining about Chris Pratt voicing Mario, and he literally came out and was just like, watch it for yourself.
But she's not even the worst of it. Like, no. Chris, did you see like any of the video of Colin Farrell basically claiming that you got to, go full socialist or communist on these things, where he was talking about controlling the means of production and stuff like that? Then you have Bryan Cranston up there leading like a youth Hler rally type thing with his speech. It's all very bizarre, and none of this stuff is getting any attention.
Do you think because it'll draw bad attention to it will further push people away from giving them sympathy?
Well, I think a lot of the push behind these strikes is based in like socialist values and beliefs that a lot of these like very powerful people in Hollywood kind of hold. Christian, you want to fact check me on that?
Well, I want to just share a quick anecdote. I wanted to mention this before. Jennifer Lawrence is a very good actress, and she got famous very early, won an Oscar very early. And if you remember her early interviews, she was delightful. She was the girl next door. She was sweet. She was kind. Within like 10 years, she is transformed into a smug, far left actress who's mean to people. And I want to throw a drink in Donald Trump's face, and belittling people in her native Kentucky turf for being Republicans. In her new movie, No Hard Feelings, her character is constantly railing against the rich. Well, meanwhile, behind the scenes, she was angling, I don't know if she got it, to make $25 million while shooting No Hard Feelings. Now, do you think that the gaffers got that, or the co-stars got that, or anyone else got that? Doesn't seem a little greedy to kind of push for that kind of money. It's so exhausting to hear the hypocrisy coming out of Hollywood. At the end of the day, if you're an actress of her skill and you've won the lottery, the genetic lottery and the talent lottery, I don't care how much you make. But when you kind of try to push an agenda in your films, but then off screen you're fighting for every last nickel, it just seems lame. And I think a lot of that feeds into this exhaustion we have with celebrity.
Why haven't we heard from people in production positions like grafters and lighting and sound? Why is it just focused solely on writers and actors for this? I mean, those individuals,
they already have a deal, don't they?
Well, those individuals,
they're not working now, though, right?
Yeah, they're not working, but I would rather support those individuals. Those tend to be people who that's their livelihood. They work paycheck to paycheck. They don't get millions of dollars or recognition for these projects. That's
a great point. They're ignored during the normal times, and they're ignored now. So, I mean, they'd actually would put a better face on the struggle than the Bryan Cranstons of the world. And by the way, what about if you're in New Mexico and you have a lot of different TV and movie productions going on? The restaurants nearby, the hotels, all the people who feed off of those productions and make a living based on the traffic and the commerce going on. We don't hear about them either.
I will say though that the Teamsters Union already has all their deals sewn up, so that might be another thing to kind of take into account. But I feel like we've covered this subject enough. Right now, I want to give a shout out to all the wonderful people who are in our chat right now. We've got Danny's mom, Penny, definitely going strong as usual. The Luke Deckard show is in the chat. Good to see you, Luke. I believe Nadia is going to be on your show very soon, and I was on there recently, so definitely check him out. Sean O'Brien, Nerdy Neo, aka Broba Fett. We got B. Kenny in the chat. We have who else? Whiskey Jack. Good to see you, Whiskey Jack. Nerd Issues. Congratulations on signing up for our membership. Thank you very much for that. We've got who else here? Anthony Mark. Can't forget Anthony Mark. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington.
Banjo Sandwich is
here.
Yeah.
We got Art to the Icky, Christopher Mays. Good to see you all in the chat today.
Where's RT? Where's JT? You need to get him on the chat, man. Get your partner in there.
Yeah,
she's probably working.
Want to highlight Nerd Issues becoming a YouTube member.
Yeah,
guys, real quick, just want to let you know that our goal for this live stream is just 5 new memberships. So if anyone out there wants to gift 5 members, or if we got 4 more people who want to sign up for the membership, that would be our goal for this one live stream.
More than 5 is good.
More than 5 is good, but 5 is our goal. So if we can just hit 5, we'll be doing well.
I also forgot, Nerdy just mentioned Chris is actually going to be on his show Saturday. Talk about games.
Nerdy Neo.
My husband, yeah.
And of course, I got to highlight this one again, guys. William Forbes
awesome.
For 50, but he accidentally typed in 500.
That's not true. Is that true?
Vader's gonna come after me if that's true. For opening my mouth about
Vader's my fave. That's gonna be my. I'm gonna make that my banner.
Vader's
on my
your favorite.
Twitter.
But make sure you put the 500 though.
Yeah.
Vader, you are worth a $500 super
Yeah.
chat.
Damn right I
Yeah.
am.
He had to sneak into the bathroom at work with the volume down in order to secretly slip you 500.
The best part about my favorite part about this said Alex isn't here.
Yeah. All I'm hearing is dinner on Vader tonight.
Oh man, Alex would have lost his.
He'd be
his
crying
stuff.
right now.
Yeah,
He'd be a little bitch.
yeah. He'd be like, we need to send this guy a hat, and a t-shirt.
We gotta spend $400 on him because he's
$500 worth of merch.
I got to name my next kid after him.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. But William Forbes, thank you so much for that.
We can't send him a hat though.
Yeah,
you should.
I think we should.
Can I share one last thought before we change topics?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is obviously hyper personal, but when I go to bed at night, instead of watching Netflix or Hulu or something like that, I often just watch YouTube. I might watch this show. I might watch other podcasts. There's a cooking channel that I love, Sam the Cooking Guy. Shout out to Sam. And I think there's so much quality content on these alternate platforms where I don't need to go to Netflix. I don't need to watch broadcast TV. These things have solid production values. They're interesting. They're thoughtful. They're different. They're fresh. They're raw. And, you know, I think more and more people are thinking, why would I watch the Late Show with Stephen Colbert? I can watch a Ryan Long comedy, which is far funnier and edgier. It's either free or I have to sit through one commercial. I mean, I think Hollywood really understand there's a threat here. It's not just video games. It's not just social media, but there's all these creators who are empowered, like the folks on the show, where you can have, you know, quality microphones and good visuals and compelling graphics and interesting conversations that are far more engaging than anything you see on the Late Show or Tonight Show or anything like that. I think that's a real threat too. And, you know, Tim Dillon, the comedian, mentioned this recently. He says, you know, I get tons of views and the budget for making my show, talking about Tim Dillon, is so much smaller than any TV program. That's a threat. And I think people are just floating to these different competitors and saying, hey, this is pretty good. I'm gonna stick with this. And they're not insulting me. And they're being sweet and kind to their fans.
Christian, let me ask you this. So with this actors strike, it's obviously put the brakes on a lot of Hollywood productions, both on the film and TV end of things, which means that at some point in 2024, there's going to be a period of time where there's nothing new coming out on the pipeline, right? Which I feel gives YouTubers a real opportunity to really kind of supercharge their audience, build an audience where people are going to be kind of like bored and looking for new stuff to consume. And with the increase of smart TVs and like people using the YouTube app and stuff like that to actually watch stuff on their TV from YouTube, because right now YouTube, like I think it's like 60% is mobile. They watch it on their phone. But if you look at the increase in TV viewership on YouTube, it's like as high as it's ever been, and it's just going to go higher. I think at that point there might be an opportunity for like an alternative to Hollywood to kind of step in and build an audience and take some of that market share from them. What are your thoughts on that?
You're right. I mean, it's a David versus Goliath situation still. But, Angel Studios is full steam ahead. They put out Sound of Freedom. They've got other films and TV shows in the works. The Daily Wire is just throwing oodles of money at all these different projects. They've got kiddie programming that's coming soon. They've got movies. They've got all sorts of other things in the pipeline. Blaze TV is pushing out some new content as well. And, comedians are like Joe List and Andrew Schultz and Tyler Fisher. They just put out their stuff straight to YouTube, and you can watch it and they'll monetize it from there. Yeah, this could be a really interesting opportunity for all these different alternate platforms to say, hey, look at us. We've got some good shows here too. We can entertain you. We're not going to yell at you. And, I think ultimately it remains to be seen how much of a gap we're going to see. Is it going to be they've got X amount of movies, and then maybe they spread them out a little wider so so the schedule isn't as packed? I don't know. Will they go to foreign markets to buy some, shows from South Korea? Possibly. More reality programming? Maybe. But you're right. There is an opportunity potentially here, and we'll see how it works out.
All right. Real quick, we got a super chat from Jeremy Turner for $2. Shout out to Nadia's ex and give her a follow. I believe he means your Twitter.
Yes.
Formerly known as Twitter.
At Nerd Dollface. And then my husband and I have our podcast, Pop Culture, Inside All Day. Thank you, Matt.
Link is in the chat.
Yeah.
So is that one of your simps?
No, that's one of your simps.
No.
He's got the little salty nerd thing.
Are you trying to steal them from us?
I don't have simps. I have a husband.
Oh, okay.
A lot of thoughts have husbands too. I'm sure
They're the worst ones, right?
Yeah.
It's like thoughts with husbands. It's like, come on, man.
No, I'm not a thought.
It's like the stripper who pretends she isn't married so she can get better tips.
Yeah.
Wait,
unfortunately, it's going to be a harder ladder for me to climb since I'm pretty proud of being a wife.
Rachel Zegler should open up a YouTube mukbang channel.
Mukbang?
What is that?
So mukbang is a okay.
Well, they eat a lot of gross stuff and just make
so a mukbang is a genre of video where people eat on camera, but they tend to overeat or eat something disgusting in order to get views.
Why?
Yeah, it's a whole industry. Like literally millions of dollars go into a mukbang genre.
What part of dark parts of the internet are you watching?
Oh, you've got no idea.
Oh, gross.
It's the internet is fun.
No thank. Wait. People make money by just eating on camera?
Yeah, just eating on camera.
I might have a new idea for our podcast, Chris, if you're watching.
There's this one mukbanger. She's a petite Asian woman who basically just eats tons of stuff, like overeats. And 90% of her audience are just middle-aged women who are dieting. Yeah. And they get off on seeing other people eat.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. That's very gross.
It's really
and it makes
gross.
me want to go to the gym right after
Yeah,
this.
it's disgusting. And we got some more people coming in.
Yeah, I see JT.
So real quick, we got a member chat from JT. I am here, Vader.
Yes, as he should be.
He's probably working, man. Come
Hey, you know who else is here?
I don't care.
Danny the Dork Knight.
Yeah.
He says, Salty Nerd Podcast. Acknowledge me.
Yeah.
I'm glad
All
at
right,
least you like me better than you like Danny. Though.
What's that?
I'm higher on the tier.
Oh, I can't stand that guy.
Okay, so I'm higher just a little bit.
He's a pain in the ass, man. It's ridiculous.
But we do acknowledge Danny the Dork Knight. Thank you for being here, Danny.
You
appreciate it.
I'm not going to.
Yes.
I'm not going to acknowledge that.
Does anybody have any
I'll
Vader
acknowledge
tattoos
hi,
out
Danny.
there?
Any what? Matt Vader
Any
tattoos?
Vader tattoos?
I hope not.
I mean, I'm sure there's Darth Vader,
yeah,
but
not with my ugly face on it, though.
No, I mean the real Vader. Come on.
All right. So we're going to talk about something that Nadia's been chomping at the bit for right now, which
I'm
is
not chomping at the bit.
Catfished by Stranger Things. So this was an interesting kind of story that we wanted to highlight here, which is basically there was a Kentucky woman who got catfished by thinking that she was in a online relationship with an actor from Stranger Things, basically Doc Ray Montgomery, who played Billy Hargrove. And she basically left her husband for this guy and sent him cumulatively $10,000 worth of like gift cards and prepaid stuff. And then she found out that it was all fake. And you know, we were just talking about like kind of celebrity culture and like all these actors who are striking and stuff like that. And here you have a woman who in 2023 fell for the idea that a Hollywood actor was in a online relationship with her. What's your take on this, Nadia?
That it's 2023 and the show Catfish exists and you should do your research. I mean, come on now. I read the article too that she was in a toxic relationship with her husband, but still, and no offense to her, she might be a lovely lady, but she's not what would be looked upon as a very attractive lady.
She's not a thought.
Yeah, she's not a thought. So like, what I don't understand how people can fall for this.
You know, to be fair, her ex was a Nigerian prince, so it kind of made sense.
Hey, I have one of those too. Contacting me.
Who doesn't?
I don't understand the whole point of catfishing. The internet, you can literally background check people.
I can make up some weird stuff and women will send me money.
Yeah.
I gotta look.
Women will send you money regardless.
I had a person ask me to put feet pics up again.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like I guess I'm gonna put a price tag on feet pics.
What you're posting pictures of your legs on Twitter for free.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
That was the freebie, you know, just the taste.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
like, oh, my knees hurt. Ow. It's like, here's my sexy leg. You're supposed to feet pics, dude. Like, what? You're weird.
I feel bad for her children because at the end of the day, that's who's probably, you know, reaping the harm of this the most. And I feel bad that her marriage is that horrible that she had to go looking somewhere else. But come on now, it's this. How many seasons of Catfish exist? Like what, 5 or 6 seasons now?
To be fair, I've never watched a single episode of that show.
It's so good, binge worthy, because you just don't understand how people can fall for this stuff.
That's the problem with television these days. Is there's too many dumb shows like that, and My 600-Pound Life.
No, you know what my favorite?
And 16 million remodeling shows and
my guilty
30,000 hours of reruns of Big Bang Theory. It's like, no, that's not entertainment.
My guilty pleasure is Love After Lockup.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
That's my guilty. Like,
see, and that's the other problem with these strikes is like, you guys just produce cheap, crappy television.
That's what majority of America
it's ridiculous.
Watches. They're not as intelligent as you are, Vader.
I think people are just getting dumber, man. We're getting closer and closer to idiocracy.
This lady can maybe start a channel where she eats a lot of food and then make up the money.
Yeah,
I wouldn't actually, from what I've seen.
She looks like she's already been doing that for quite some time. not to be mean.
It's really sad. It's also I feel the internet, in my opinion, the internet has helped with the downfall of marriage, because it used to be you would date within your community, within your city. And when online dating started and now you get a taste of what else is out there in distance, it makes you more acceptable to stray away from your marriage in situations like this.
Well, the interesting thing about this is like she wasn't on dating apps. She wasn't like looking for any of this stuff. She was on a message board.
Yeah.
It might have even been a Reddit, if I'm remembering correctly. But she was basically there to solve an issue that had to do with her job. And this person kind of like DM'd her, and he played the long con on this girl. Like he slowly revealed that he was like this Stranger Things actor and stuff like that. And I guess like he just got her wrapped around his little finger. And she had said that she was in a toxic relationship for a while. I don't know how true that is. Different people have different definitions of toxicity.
Yeah, like you have to work, or like, is he abusive? Like there's a whole range of what people consider, like you said, toxic nowadays.
But she ended up leaving her husband partially because she felt like she had this guy to go to, because he wanted her to be his secret girlfriend.
Oh my God.
And that he claimed that the actor who was dating another kind of like well-known actress at the time, that this actress that he was dating had control of like his finances, and so like he couldn't get like the money he needed to like go see her or like whatever, and so she kept like sending him like these like gift cards and stuff like that in order to help him like buy stuff, and it was all a lie. It was all just like a flat out lie.
What was the moment where she finally said, okay, it's actually him? Like, did he offer some kind of proof that, hey, I'm not just, I mean, he had to convince her that he's the guy. So how do you do that?
Apparently like he was doing stuff that like convinced her that like he was like legit, but every time like they were set to meet, like of course he'd keep pushing it off and stuff like that.
This is every episode of Catfish.
Yeah, exactly.
Every episode of the show.
There's like a playbook that they go by.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a great documentary on Netflix called The Tinder Swindler.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Have you seen that?
Yeah. How did
That's
that
amazing.
guy swindle all those girls?
I can't even relate to you guys right now.
What? You've never seen it? Oh,
No.
well,
It's actually
you've been there for a
fascinating.
while. Yeah, it is.
And you know, I think if that guy used his powers for good, he would be an exceptional something. Like he had this amazing ability to juggle different. I mean, he was very smart and sly and horrible as a human being. But if he had applied those skills to another task, I don't know. What a wasted opportunity. Because I mean, it took a level of ingenuity to keep that shtick alive.
And most of those women were very good looking. They were you wouldn't call them mid. So they could have basically getting any man they wanted, and they decided, and there were red flags left and right. Maybe because you're an outsider viewing it.
I just can't relate because this whole, I get in talks like this I have this 25-year-old kid, and I said kid, and he's 25, right? That I work with, you know, and we were making fun of him one day because he's sitting there on his phone, laugh.
Oh,
and it's like this Tinder hookup generation, putting yourself out there like you're a product and a piece of meat on a fucking app so people can approve or disapprove of you is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
I'm glad I met
in
my
my
husband
life.
before Tinder took off.
It is the dumbest thing. It's disgusting. And I think it's just the downfall of civilization. It contributes to it because you know,
people don't have to work for it. There's no courting, there's no dating, there's no really connecting with someone.
And my coworker, he has hooked up with many of them. And it's like I want to tell him that sometimes that you're a gross little pig without any morals or values, you know, but at the same time I'm kind of like, damn.
If he's watching this show, he knows
that. But it's gross. And you know, and a lot of times he'll tell us stories like he'll show us a picture and then he'll show us a real picture. It's like this is some false advertisement right here, you know, with these gussied up filters and all this kind of stuff. It's just I don't understand the culture these days.
What's crazy is that this Stranger Things girl kind of got off easy because if you look at the Tinder swindler, there's this one girl who went $500,000 into debt.
Oh Jesus!
Giving this guy money, and it's bizarre, like kind of the scams that people fall for, and you can't blame them because like they're trusting, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you know, what if you were to just slow your roll and actually think about the situation you're in? Because in the Tinder swindler's case, he was pretending to be royalty, wasn't he?
Yeah, or royalty or somebody high up in a company or something, or to that point. Yeah.
Like he was supposed to be like rich and famous and stuff like that. And he had this weird scam where like, he was like being kidnapped and held for ransom and stuff like that. It was very bizarre.
Well, he would first start off by spoiling them and paying for everything. And then he would say, oh, my finances are tied up. You need to, bring me 50,000 in cash or something to that extent.
But I'm good for it.
But I'll pay you back. And never actually.
And he was romancing these girls with the money he swindled from like the previous
other girls. Yeah.
Every single week, you guys just confirm my theory that Agent Smith had on the Matrix, that we're all just a virus and a disease and need to be wiped off the planet. So,
but Vader, you get even more upset when you just see like girls playing video games who aren't good at the video games getting thousands of dollars in tips.
It's super annoying.
Just because like they actually talk to the chat and make them think that they care about them.
So
kawaii.
So dumb.
With their little cat ear headphones and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I have a pair.
Yeah.
Like
you get upset when they're on there eating cereal and getting tips for it.
That's bullshit.
Mukbang.
No, it's nonsense.
I bet if you started it, you would get tips too. Just from
no,
people you
nobody,
would not want
nobody.
tips from.
I know there's channels out there.
You
but
got $500 just for being you.
For being me. That's because I have this amazing personality. But
all the thoughts out there, dude.
No, they got boobs and they wear a lot less clothing than most people. So yeah, no, I don't. Internet culture is very frustrating. It's very strange. It's very annoying.
It's called mukbang.
And it's also very but it's also very fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't let this go. I'm sorry. I'm just.
So it is what it is, man. It's I have to evolve or move out of the way. So, and I've got like 20 more years I have to make money. So I guess I better figure it out.
You better evolve.
So better evolve a little bit.
Got a shelf life.
Yeah.
Like a stripper.
So
Like those videos now that people are pretending to be anime characters.
every single one of us,
the VTubers.
every single one of us are
Yeah.
trying to take advantage of this. You know, Christian is, you're and you're just starting with your stuff. And it's, I get it. You got a long road, and
I'm a girl. I don't have a long road.
But it'll be a little easier for you.
Nah.
Yeah, it will. It'll be, girls have, I'm sorry, but attractive women have a leg up in the internet business. It's just a fucking fact.
Throw a couple filters on, Vader. You're good to
So-
go.
It's just the way it is.
Christian, did you have something you wanted to add in?
Yes. Christian's like, he's never coming back.
I can't get rid of this. Was it mukbang? I can't.
Yeah.
Mukbang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go down that rabbit hole later, man. You'll never come out of the internet.
No, it's MUKBANG
Yeah.
mukbang.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to look it up.
It actually
Yeah,
it started off
exactly.
as a way to get rid of loneliness during the COVID lockdowns, because like people would basically get on video and have a meal together, via Skype or something
okay.
like that. And then it morphed into like this weird subculture of just like binging, like overeating, eating bizarre stuff, ASMR adjacent stuff. And it's a multi-million-dollar business.
I feel like they're connected. Like is it ASMR and that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Some-
with the soap cutting or
Yeah, like
people
There's that
using the
stuff too.
microphone,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's some sort of connective tissue between all this. I could be wrong, but just. I don't
Well,
know.
what's interesting is like it's one of those things where they're different. It appeals to different types of people, right? So there are the people who are dieting that actually get like some type of oxytocin release by watching other people eat. And so therefore like they don't feel hungry because like they feel satiated because they watch someone like eat like a ton of stuff. Then there's like the weird fetishists who are just like all about like watching people like eat stuff. Then there's the ASMR aspect of it. So like there's like 4 or 5 different unique audience segments that mukbang appeals to. And they get, I think like the biggest mukbanger on YouTube has like 22 million subscribers.
It's preposterous.
Yeah.
Man, I need to maybe rethink my YouTube career a little bit.
I know, right?
I don't know. I couldn't keep up with it.
Like, can you imagine just getting paid to eat on stream? Just
But
like,
we overeat too. That can't be good for your health. And I don't care if you go to the gym for 8 hours and then you binge eat for how long you do it for the YouTube. You're still, it's unhealthy for your body. You're still putting unhealthy foods in your body. You're still,
well,
like
some of
you're
them don't
expanding your
overeat. Some of
stomach.
them eat like bizarre stuff, like bull testicles or something like that.
No,
Yeah.
no,
It's a crazy rabbit hole if you really want to go down on
no,
it.
thank you.
I mean, there's a ton of weird internet YouTube genres out there that we could
Yeah.
So
probably
it's,
spend
is it
days
going to be
talking
Salty
about.
Nerds
No.
sub channel, but
No.
it's all salty foods?
No,
It's going to be the salty bang.
Yeah.
watch me eat pork rinds.
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Those aren't too bad for you.
How
There
many
you go.
pork rinds can you stuff in your face? What's going on? He's like, get out of here. We talk about something else. It's gross.
You don't want to talk about catfishing anymore?
No.
All right. Well, if that's the case, then let's talk about the Blue Beetle
Dun, dun,
Oh.
dun.
and how it has been underperforming at the box office. So, guys, I don't know if you know this, but the Blue Beetle movie came out this weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to
really.
go see it. I have not seen it, but I
I
have
haven't
to
either.
go see it. So
And this is from the previous DC regime. And basically, it underperformed. Like, it was #1 at the box office. It finally dethroned Barbie. It's been out for like 4 or 5 weeks. And it made $25 million in the box
Good
office,
for it.
on a
Good-
budget of what?
Good trooper.
over 100 million. So, by all accounts, this movie needs to make at least 300 million to break even.
Okay.
So it made 25 million domestically. I think it's up to like 46 million, like when you count in overseas box office and stuff. But what's interesting about this,
Not even halfway there.
yeah,
Mhm.
what's interesting about this is that the film's actually been getting pretty good reviews from audiences. They've been saying that the Cobra Kai kid who plays Blue Beetle has been really good. And the movie itself is actually like pretty decent. But with Hurricane Hillary, they said that
bullshit.
the studio said that depressed the box office a little bit.
So we moved from COVID numbers
to hurricane numbers.
To Hurricane Hillary. Okay. I want to make sure we're on
so
track.
they were like, it would have made more money, but Hurricane Hillary happened. But the big thing, especially on Twitter X, is that people have been criticizing James Gunn for coming out and basically saying we're going to reboot the DCU.
Yeah.
And basically audiences are now like, well, what's the point in watching any of these movies because they're not going to matter. And so Christian, can you break down the box office for us and let us know, like, is this just another huge hit to Warner Brothers for releasing a DC movie after announcing that they're rebooting everything?
It's not good, and it's been tracking poorly for a while now, so the numbers weren't a surprise. Most people don't know who Blue Beetle is. The biggest star of the movie is George Lopez, you could argue, and he's not exactly a box office sensation. And I saw it. It's okay. There's a lot of messaging in the movie, a lot of empowerment of Latino culture. That's fine. A lot of family talk. It makes the Fast and Furious movies look like a piker in comparison. But it's a meh. It's we've seen it all before. There's nothing really super original about it. And it's the umpteenth superhero movie. And it's like Iron Man super light. And it's not super funny. The action isn't amazing. It's kind of genial in a way. It's just it's a movie you'll watch on streaming and say, oh, that was all right. That's it.
Yeah.
So without the hype, without the big stars, without the quality, it's just we're going toward a time where a superhero movie has to have something really special to be a huge hit, and Guardians of the Galaxy has that cast and the pedigree, and we'll have to see what happens with the Marvels and the Aquaman sequel. But
no, not the Marvels.
Yeah, no.
I'm not expecting that to do too well either.
I'd rather watch.
I forgot that Aquaman was coming out.
So yeah, it just but those numbers are terrible. Let's cut to the chase. That's bad. It's a big budget. It's a bad number. It'll only go down dramatically from here. I don't anticipate a groundswell. It's going to like rise up like The Greatest Showman did about a decade ago. It's just not good. And the James Gunn thing, he's announcing it's a new wave of movies, and this is the old wave, and that doesn't help. And then the director of the film, his name keeps escaping me. He's been pushing the woke of the movie again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if you make the movie and it's your baby, you go out and say, you know what? I've watched George Lopez for years, but on the set, this guy's really funny, and he made some scenes pop that I didn't expect, and that's cool. And so there's a lot of things you can say about a movie. There's a great action scene. I love the performances here, but these actors are not doing any of that. They're just saying, woke, 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 identity politics. You need to see this movie because of Latino representation. Yet, if it's a good movie, everyone will see it, and they'll say, "Oh, great, it's a Latino cast. Isn't that nice?" But that doesn't get people to the theater, I don't think, and I think this is proving it.
And this is also a situation where DC yet again bucks the Marvel formula in the sense that when you have a D-list superhero, like nobody knows who the hell Blue Beetle is, and you just throw them out there in their own movie without kind of like properly setting them up or building them up or anything like that, you're in a situation where people are just like, why am I going to watch like a lame superhero?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have to go to the theater for that? Like, right, Vader? Like you were like, who the hell's Blue Beetle?
Yeah, I was going to say I have my reasons. I haven't seen this movie. I'm not planning on seeing the theater. I don't want to. I don't want to spend the money on it. It's tracking behind Shazam 2. And I just watched Shazam 2 for the first time on streaming.
Rachel Zegler.
I know. Like earlier this week, first time I'd seen that movie. It wasn't a terrible movie. It's better than Shazam 1, I think, maybe a little bit. But Blue Beetle is just another one of those D-list superheroes that nobody's ever heard of. And that's why I'm not interested in seeing this thing. I have some superhero fatigue. I've had it for some time.
You think the reboot of the DCU is going to be a little too late?
It's too late. It's going to underperform.
Yeah.
Especially since they're, I'm interested in what they do, but I'm not going to I'm certainly not excited about it right now. Years out.
What's to sell the reboot? James Gunn, who has a intermittent track record, some good, some bad. I don't care. The actor who's playing Superman, I had never heard of him before they made the announcement. What is amazing about the story? We've seen Superman before. What's the appeal here?
I'd rather see Peacemaker season 2.
Yeah.
At this point right now, you know,
well, they did my guy Henry Cavill dirty, so
yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah, there was a lot of goodwill toward Cavill, and he was, you know, looked apart and seemed like a decent actor. Why would you just throw him aside? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I thought it would have made more sense if they had done like kind of like a Crisis on Infinite Earths thing to kind of wrap up the Snyderverse and then launch into like a new reboot, as opposed to just like saying like, okay, hard cut at the end of 2023 and we're just going to like change things up. Like it seems like it would have made more sense for Gunn to come up with, you know, like kind of a conclusion for all the fans of like what Snyder did in the DC universe. But Nadia, you know, we've recently been going to see a lot of movies together.
Yes, we have. And
and we have to drag your husband Chris along to a lot of these things. What's your take on how they're running the DCU? And basically it just feels like, you know, we went and saw Flash together and stuff like that. It feels like they're putting all these movies out just to like get them off their slate. They don't care if they succeed or not. But you know, James Gunn has come out and said that Blue Beetle, this movie, is going to play a role in the new DCU, whereas Aquaman and Flash aren't. It's very bizarre.
Maybe because Blue Beetle is a one-off character that they can bring back in. He's not part of the. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if he's part of the main storyline of the other ones.
If they have a plan for a Booster Gold property, and Blue Beetle and Booster Gold do have like a team up in the comic books, and so like I feel like that's going to tie in somehow.
Maybe because Blue Beetle hasn't had multiple movies already, or the actor hasn't been in for the last couple of years of what DC has been doing, that they're okay with taking Blue Beetle and bringing it over to the new slate. But I really just, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to go see it because if I'm going to review it, I'll go see it. But if I didn't have to review it, I would just stream it. Just like Shazam, I just streamed it. It was an okay movie. It was a fine movie. It was fun, but I just don't care. I'm not excited for anything coming out on his slate coming forward. I agree with you that he should have completed with the original 3 of them, or did something like Kingdom Come where they're a little bit older and then like maybe do, I don't know, multiverse or whatever and bring the younger ones in, or something stupid like that. That's a stupid idea. That's why I don't run DC. But yeah, I don't care.
But Christian, I want to throw this back to you because, you know, David Zaslav, who came in, basically he's the new head of Warner Brothers Discovery, all this stuff. Like when he took over, like he inherited basically a mess of a DC universe. And, you know, he famously axed Batgirl by saying that it was a movie so bad,
see that movie
and did such damage to the brand that he wasn't going to release it. So they just took a tax write-off. And of course, like he inherited the whole mess with the Flash and, you know, of course, Blue Beetle and Aquaman, which from what I hear from my inside sources is going to be a complete shit show. The question here is, do you think that the strategy here is basically Zaslav doesn't care how these movies perform? He just wants to get them off his slate so that they can get to the stuff that they really want to do?
I guess so. It seems that way. Everything you've said about this makes sense to me. I mean, I think we were spoiled by the MCU those early years because not only did they pick great actors, not only was the movies were mostly very good to great, everything interconnected in a way that was very fluid and organic and interesting. And it all built up to, you know, Avengers Endgame. It just, what an interesting tapestry of stories. And I think ever since then, both Marvel and DC have struggled to, or haven't even attempted to put some sort of universe together. It's only universe in name only. We don't know how these stories connect. I don't know how the characters connect. I don't care. I just saw Blue Beetle. I don't care about this character at all. The Cobra Kai kid, he's a nice actor. He's charming. Why do I care about that character? What is his suit that was so special? It's just another Iron Man, you know, spinoff. I mean, I love this stuff. I've loved the old movies. I watch Avengers Infinity War. I could watch it on a loop. But I mean, just as a fan and a critic, I just shrug my shoulders at it all. Nothing's interesting here. I don't know what James Gunn has got up his sleeve. And like you said, if they could have wrapped it up, they could have, you know, paid homage to the fans who are still hanging in there and then kind of segued into this new universe or this new chapter. They didn't bother to do that. It's like no foresight here. It's like the Star Wars, the recent sequels. Was there a plan? Did anyone have a schematic here? It's just, what's going on? There's all this, they're just throwing money at the thing. And, you mentioned the Blue Beetle. It would have been better as a character in an existing movie, which is 100% right. Or just make it a low budget movie. How much money do you need to throw at a Blue Beetle movie?
Apparently 125 million.
It's just, gosh, there's so much wrong with this. And what I find interesting is that, I appear on shows like this, and I've been in other shows, there's Nerdrotic, all these different channels. They have all these really interesting, thoughtful takes on what's going on in Hollywood and suggestions and ideas. I'm thinking, hey, Hollywood, why don't you watch this show and take some notes? You could learn something. I mean, could you be so bubbled and so arrogant that you don't think you can learn? You're screwing everything up. It's just a disaster. I mean, the Marvel Universe now, it just goes from movie to movie. It gets worse and worse. Nothing's connected. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just depressing. They just got out of the gate with Iron Man. They created this amazing universe. It all felt magical. And it's just a big nothing now. I don't know. How could I not be depressed about it? It was so much fun for so long. And now it's just disastrous. And it's MCU, it's DCEU, whatever. It's just.
I do want to address something that you mentioned and that Vader kind of hit on, which is this idea of superhero fatigue. And I personally don't believe in that. I feel like that's an excuse that Hollywood uses in order to justify like the downturn in poor product. I feel like the fatigue is coming from bad movies as opposed to like a specific genre. And DC, what their biggest crime is that they've been putting out very middling movies where they're not great, but they're not terrible. Some of them are, but Marvel has been putting out legitimately terrible movies
ever since Endgame.
And people had such a
Phase 4,
such a big expectation for Marvel movies that the more crap they put out and the more propaganda they pump into that and the more like woke their messaging gets, it starts turning people off. And so like Hollywood tries to justify it by saying like, oh, people are just tired of superhero movies. And it's like, no, if it's a good superhero movie, people will like it. It's just that every single superhero movie that's been coming out since Endgame has been really, really shitty.
Well, except for the Batman. I would say I enjoyed the Batman.
I mean, I enjoyed the Batman too.
It was 3 days too long, but yes.
There's a lot of people out there who would disagree with us. And also like, it's like, are you going forward with Pattinson or are we doing like a whole nother Batman? Why did you have to get rid of Cavill? Wasn't he a good enough like there's all types of like weird stuff going on in the superhero genre that is just making audiences confused or pissed off. And it's
we got Joker and Lady Gaga coming out.
Yeah, right.
I forgot about it's a musical too, I believe.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, and so like when you have decisions like this going on the studio level and audiences are like, we don't know what's going on. And then they're like, oh, superhero fatigue. You guys are just tired of superhero movies. It's like, I don't buy that. It's a cover for the bad decisions that Hollywood makes.
Well, I think you're right. I think I did say I did suffer from superhero fatigue. I think I suffer from bad superhero movie fatigue because
I do bad like movies overall.
Well, there's a lot of bad movies. But yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head because I think if these movies were good and worth watching, I'd probably enjoy them more. But
well, I think you're mostly right. But I also think if I saw Blue Beetle 15 years ago, I think I would have liked it a little more than I did because it just felt so reheated. And I think that's the part of that fatigue sense. But yeah, it's bad movies. That's. But
I mean, like look at Ant-Man 3.
Oh my God, that was or Doctor Strange, Mom.
Yeah, but Ant-Man 3. So Mahler just recently released like a 5-hour
I saw,
take on Ant-Man 3, and
it's great.
It is brilliant.
Yes,
it nails every single problem with that movie. And I'm like, Christian, you even mentioned it before. It's like just hire Mahler to look at your script before you start filming.
Yeah,
and like you would instantly have a couple hits under your belt.
Prior to Phase 4, I mean, they respected the source material as best as they could to bring it on screen. And they actually had people who loved this stuff working on these projects. Now it's all about how can I deliver this message? We'll just call it Ant-Man, but it's not really Ant-Man. We're just going to call it, but we're going to add all these additional messages into it. There's no respect to the source anymore.
Well, what was crazy about that movie is so like from what we've heard, right? It was a completely different movie at first. And then they went back in and reshot it, and they brought in a first-time screenwriter, never written anything before in his life. He comes in and he like rewrites this movie, and they reshoot the whole thing and make it more funny, more relatable, stuff like that. And what we got was just a mess. It was just like a complete mess. And I feel like we're going to get the same thing with Aquaman, because like that movie has been reshot like 4 or 5 times.
Well, because of the whole Amber Heard too, the whole fiasco with her.
There was Amber Heard, but then like originally they were planning on Batgirl to be coming out, so they had Michael Keaton involved with it, but then they had to replace him with Ben Affleck. And now we're not even sure if Ben Affleck's going to be in it.
Yeah, I thought the last I heard of it, they cut Ben Affleck scenes from it as well.
That could be the case, but it just seems like this is going to be a complete shit show of a movie.
Why not just scratch it? Why not just?
They've invested too much. They need to recoup some of it.
But
never go the full
they're
Batgirl.
unable to even out.
Back.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not able to even out what they spent on it, isn't it more of a loss if they just say, "Hey, we're just not going to put this out"?
Well, I mean, it's guaranteed to. I mean, the first Aquaman made what, $1 billion, something like that, or at least like close to it. So like if they put it out, they're going to make back what they spent on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it doesn't make any sense to just like kind of like shit can.
I mean, I'll go see it because I like Patrick Wilson, so that's why I go. I know
I
most
don't-
women will go see it for Jason Momoa. I'm not a Jason Momoa fan.
I don't think I will go see it. I think I'm gonna wait. Just like I waited for this one and Shazam. And
See, I said the same thing about Flash, but I actually enjoyed.
I haven't seen it.
When we went, the two of us, Chris absolutely hated it, but you and we enjoyed it. I thought it was
I'm sure
fun.
it'll be on streaming like next week or something.
Yeah, that's another thing, Christian, I wanted to ask you about. So like the window from theatrical to streaming is so short now. Like it's almost like 3 to 4 weeks at most. And so like there's no incentive for people to really go to the theater. They'll just wait a little bit longer, because it used to be 6 months to 8 months before like it would come on streaming or home video. And by that point, like you could, make a convincing argument, go see it in the theater. But nowadays it's just like, you don't need to see it in the theater anymore. You can just wait, and it's cheaper and it's more comfortable.
But I like the experience of going to a movie theater, getting my popcorn, sitting in a seat.
Unfortunately, we're in the minority in that type of thing. Like there is a little bit of a comeback when it comes to like going to see movies in the theater, but COVID dealt it such a hard blow. Like it's been a slow slog back, and a lot of theater chains have like closed down because of it. And with this shorter window, Christian, do you think that Hollywood's basically shooting itself in the foot by having such a short window to go from theater to streaming?
Yeah, I mean, even films that have been pretty successful, I'll be on my Amazon account looking at the new video on demand titles, like, oh my gosh, that's still in theaters. That's doing well. Why do they rush it out to, the VOD platform? So I've got to think that hurts the theatrical model. I must. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great idea. Listen, if a movie really just does badly, there's a little bit of maybe sense to rush it onto VOD, see if it kind of pops there as opposed to the theaters. But other than that, I mean, if you got like a Super Mario Brothers, just let it run. Let it run.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are all these ancillary markets that Hollywood normally like takes their time and like releases this stuff to. And so by the time it gets to the streaming, they've already milked it for pretty much everything that they can. And when you factor in stuff like licensing and product placement tie-ins and all this other stuff, a lot of these movies do tend to make their money back. I know that Fast X made something like 800 million at the box office. They're like it just barely broke even. It's going to have like a modest profit, stuff like that. But when you look at just strictly the the American box office, or like the worldwide box office or whatever, a lot of these numbers are down, especially when you consider Bidenflation, where basically the dollar is worth less. And so like you can say like, hey, Little Mermaid made $200 million, but like adjusted for inflation, just a couple of years ago, that $200 million is actually worth like 100 million. And the Little Mermaid technically did not like perform as good as it needed to in order to recoup its investment. Isn't that right, Christian? Like they're playing some funny numbers with these box office reporting, especially considering the fact that tickets are more expensive now.
It's very expensive to take I think it circles back to the whole issues with the strike too. People are now going to be more conservative of where they spend their dollar. Taking a family to movies like a couple $100 now, so they're not going to take it to something that's attacking them or is not, take it for instance like Disney, that's no more about family values. Now parents have to pre-screen almost everything their kids watch, so why would they want to do that in the theater?
But also with inflation, it becomes more expensive to take out loans and to finance these movies and stuff like that. And inflation doesn't go down, right? Like once the dollar has been inflated, it's very rare that it's going to like come back down. So we're in a situation now where like the government has basically misplayed its hand to the point where like the dollar has been so devalued because of inflation that everything is just going to be way more expensive than it always has been. Christian, what's your take on that? Have the numbers been kind of like fudged because of the increased inflation?
Well, I think it's a bad scenario. First of all, I believe Little Mermaid, the new film, made $300 million stateside, which sounds amazing. But because it didn't do well overseas, I think they're going to struggle for profitability, which is insane that a movie can make that much money and still not come out on top. By the way, I paid voluntarily $20 to see Meg to the Trench.
So
did we.
That's so embarrassing to admit. I was going with my friends. There was a birthday party. $20 to see Meg to the Trench. Unacceptable. But yeah,
at least we got to learn how water pressure works. A couple thousand miles beneath the ocean.
Differently.
The last half hour I thought was a blast, so I give it a very mixed review.
Oh, on Fun Island? You liked Fun Island, did you?
It was like we're just going to throw everything to the wind. It was just going to be crazy.
I'm going to.
But I mean, the bottom line is that Hollywood has to make movies at a cheaper price point, or they're doomed. They're doomed. And I always say this. Maybe it's cliche, but it's got to be true. Independent filmmakers do more with less. They cut corners. They find ways to go around problems. They get it done, and they get it done for what? $1 million, $2 million, $10 million. You got each of these big bloated blockbusters have to hire one indie filmmaker and say, "Listen, Joe or Jane, what are we doing here? Cut me some corners. We gotta save some money here. What would you do?" And I'll say, "Well, I'd shoot that, and I'd skip that, and I mean." Make these movies cheaper. That's why horror movies are so magical. Because they cost $25 million and they make 80, and there's no famous stars in it, and there's no budget, and there's no expectations, and often they just go crazy at the box office.
Yeah,
Talk to Me. I think they surpassed their budget.
Yeah, but Christian, if you make a movie for less than $100 million, it becomes really hard to launder money.
Bring back practical effects. Stop relying on CGI so much.
And by the way, I'm seeing a screening this week for Gran Turismo. Okay, it looks like a teen movie. I know nothing about it. Here's the bottom line. It's 135 minutes. 135 minutes. That's longer than Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's longer than Alien. Stop it. You want to save some money? Make shorter movies.
Exactly.
Bring back 2 hours or less.
Every movie I see these days, it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes or 2.5 hours long. It's like, I want 90-minute movies.
I want 90-minute movies, or I want intermissions. That's what I want. Either one or the other.
I just saw a movie that I can't talk about because the embargo is up.
Yeah.
It was 80 minutes. I loved every nanosecond of it. It was so much fun and so interesting and so weird and so different. And it was like 80 minutes. I'm like, yes. Why do you make these movies so long? No one needs it. Listen, you're going to make Avengers Endgame, make it at 8 hours. I don't care. I'll love every second of that. But otherwise, you've got to make Haunted Mansion is over 2 hours long.
That's ridiculous.
Why?
It's only meant for kids.
If you're going to make your movies that long, like give me the 90-minute version in theaters and then the extended version on a physical media
it's
or
like
streaming.
They had to raise the movie prices because they can only get 4 screenings in a day instead of 8.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Make a 90-minute movie and screen it 8 times a day and charge us $8 for a ticket. You'll make your money. It'll be fine.
Yeah, listen, if you're Oppenheimer and you're Christopher Nolan, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But everyone else, 90 minutes. Come on.
Yeah.
You can't tell your story in 90 minutes, then I don't know what.
Tell that to Zack Snyder.
What? Hey, Tarantino too, okay?
Tarantino earned it. All right.
He's only got one more movie.
He split his
left,
movies
right?
into 2. Yeah. Yeah, but what was I going to say?
I don't know.
It was something very profound.
I'm sure it was very
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
Oh, we got a super chat.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm gonna get into it.
All right.
All right. So let's get to this super chat from Salty Saturday superstar Scotty Dub for $19.99. Thank you, Scotty. Greetings, my favorite and saltiest of nerds from Beantown, aka Boston, as I prepare to walk aboard a Colombian Navy tall sailing ship for a sumptuous fest. Maybe he's meant feast. I don't know.
Maybe. Or is this going to a festival?
Still loving
Yeah.
Nadia as an addition to the live
Oh,
stream team. Thank you,
thanks.
Scotty Dub. You are our top Saturday contributor. Appreciate all the support you've given us. And I used to live in Boston.
Boston.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
I
Yeah.
used to live in Chicago, so I guess
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah, not a fan of Boston, but they do have some nice boats and sailing stuff out there.
Gonna go down to the harbor, get some chowder.
Exactly.
No, let
Some
it go.
lobster.
No?
Some lobster.
Lobster.
Yes.
It's
Are
on
you
the-
a cop?
It's on the hopper. I'm gonna watch it on the hopper.
On
It's
the
hockey.
hopper,
The
yeah.
hockey on the hopper with my chowder. You guys, it's funny.
All right.
I've
So
grown to loathe SNL, but they did a very funny sketch with Ben Affleck and Dunkin'
Yeah.
Donuts a couple years
Yeah.
ago. It was pretty good.
So, Christian, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we're going to talk about Jason Aldean getting dethroned by a newcomer named Oliver Anthony, I believe his name is. This is a guy who was just making country music songs in his backyard on his farm, and he wrote a song called Rich Men North of Richmond. And it's basically about how you have these elite rich liberals who believe that they know best for everyone, and the working man gets basically screwed because of these rich men and their machinations. And it's kind of like an indictment on just like the Democrat Party in general and rich liberal elites and all this stuff. And it's actually a pretty catchy song. And he released it independently, and it's blown up completely virally. The country music,
I bought it.
kind of like people
Bought it.
just
Yeah,
gravitated
to support it,
towards
go
this
buy
thing.
it for $1 on Apple. Yeah,
buy it on iTunes.
Yeah.
I don't spend money on music.
to support. Okay, all right.
But the big news is that his song has dethroned Jason Aldean, whose hit single "Try That in a Small Town."
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that song.
Yeah. So like that was another one that was kind of controversial, but like it was a kind of like a rallying anthem for people who are disaffected by the current political state in Hollywood.
I have a question. Do we know for a fact that this song is against Democratic liberals?
I don't know.
Is this just an assumption because of what the song is about, or could
Well,
it just be
do you know
about?
who lives north of Richmond, Virginia?
No, I'm
Rich liberal elites.
okay.
Yes.
All right.
So
I'm from the Midwest. So.
I think it's pretty evident what he's talking about.
Okay.
And maybe like Christian can correct me once I'm done with my monologue. But I think that this is kind of like a bigger groundswell that we're seeing, and this is one of the reasons why the media is trying to quash it, is the fact that more and more people are kind of like answering these rallying cries. In fact, just today, 13 days after the wildfires devastated Maui, Joe Biden's finally gone to Hawaii, and during the reception of his speech and stuff like that, he literally fell asleep. He fell asleep.
Yeah, I saw video of Maui locals giving him the middle finger while he's coming down the.
Well,
runaway and
first
stuff.
he when they asked him about the Maui wildfires, he said no comment, which if he was a Republican president would have gotten him impeached immediately.
Yeah.
Then he had to interrupt his vacation to his beach house in order to go to Maui. And then when he gets to Maui, he just falls asleep in public on the stage where he's where he's supposed to be giving remarks to, kind of like help assuage people's fears and stuff like that. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to give you $700 per family. Whereas the amount of aid that he's giving to Ukraine dwarfs that. In fact, the bill that he and the Democrats put towards Congress for relief for the Maui families, emergency funding reliefs, had $100 and something billion tied to it for Ukraine, because they were trying to slip it through with the emergency Maui funding. And when people voted against that, they're like, oh, you don't want to help people in Maui. It's like, no, we don't want you to be funding Ukraine on the backs of the tragedy that's going on in Maui. And so you have all these things that, our two-tier justice system where, like, if you're a Biden family member, you get away with everything, criminal scot-free, sweetheart deals, all this other stuff. These songs that these people are writing seem to kind of encapsulate the frustration that a lot of people are feeling with all the hypocrisy and stuff out there. And the fact that they're gaining more and more popularity, I think just goes to show that there's a greater awareness of bad stuff happening than the media gives it credit for. Christian, what's your take on that?
Well, you're 100% right. The reason why these songs are resonating is not because it's the most amazing song in the world or the greatest voice or the greatest lyrics, because they're touching on issues that are driving Americans crazy. And we need a voice, and these are the next best thing to actually having a functioning media landscape or having politicians who do their jobs. And all, as you're talking, I'm like, I could just go down a detour and just be outraged by it. I mean, imagine having a crisis like we have in Maui and the president says no comment. How hard is it to say, gosh, it's the most terrible thing. We're going to do everything we can and then move on. You couldn't even muster that. But back to the artists here. Yeah, I mean, this is a population that is not being heard. This is a population that knows it's being lied to by the press. And they need some sort of connection. And then the singer comes along and he gets it. And just to clarify, the song isn't overtly political, but he's singing about corrupt politicians who control our lives. Well, who's in charge now? Who's controlling our lives? Well, it's the Democrats. And that's why the media initially tried to ignore the story of the song's success. And then they attacked the song as being, it's just the work of right-wing influencers. And this one really sticks in my craw, and this is something that we really should remember. Variety magazine wrote about the song finally and wrote about Oliver Anthony. And it said within its story, you have to go read it. It's just amazing. They basically admitted that they dug through this guy's past looking for dirt.
Yep.
And then when they couldn't find it, they just said, well, there wasn't seemingly anything about him we could explore. Now, the media will look the other way while we have bank receipts and whistleblowers about all sorts of insane madness going on in the Biden family. But if a singer comes out from nowhere and has a runaway hit, they're going to do a deep dive on him. That's where our culture is. That's where our media is. It is nauseating. And God bless this guy. I hope he can stay sane, because there is a target on his back, and the media is going to do everything possible to make him a pariah. And they may just make it work. They may just find something that they can exploit in this guy. But I feel badly for him, even though he's having the time of his life and having a success story unlike any other.
Yeah, Nadia, when I was kind of going through the list of things that kind of adds to the frustration of, like, the country music fan, like, you looked like you were hearing some of this for the first time. Was that the case?
Is some of with the cases with Maui, especially. I mean, today I learned that there's quite a few children missing too. I guess when the alarms went off, they kept the kids at home and parents went to work. This is supposedly from what I read, in that when everything, they couldn't get home to their own kids. And now there's hundreds of children missing too on it. I don't want to say avoiding news about Biden. It's just because it's the same thing. It's an embarrassment. It's frustration.
Yeah.
I feel bad for our country. I feel bad for the working people of this country. And I've heard the song. I like the song a lot, but I didn't realize, I thought they had taken a non-political song and made it political, even though it's just a guy singing from his heart about the frustrations that he's dealing with from day to day that most people are.
I mean, it's mostly apolitical. There's an element there, and you can read into it, as you wish. And I think that's actually the sign of a good storyteller, where he's not saying Biden bad, Trump good, or something like that. He's laying out a story. There's a line in the song where he says something like, in this new society, I feel like an old soul. Well, he's not 80. He's a young man, but he feels old because there's been such rapid change and such a degradation of our culture in just a very short time. It's a beautiful line. He gets it. And that's why people are responding to it.
Yeah, we have a comment here from Red Pill Rants. He says the children were actually sent home. They were already at school, and they were sent home to parentless homes.
Yeah, and then by
terrible.
then, when it happened, parents couldn't get to their kids, and now we don't know the loss count of it.
What's crazy is I learned from the Sound of Freedom that child traffickers
will use events like this.
Yeah, we'll look for natural disasters, especially like war-torn things where like there are orphans and stuff like that, where they will go there and they will basically just pick up children who have been displaced by these events and use them for their nefarious means. It's just like, oh man, like would that actually be happening in Maui right now?
And
Crazy.
I feel there's a very big lack of coverage about Maui. I feel like we covered it for a few days and now all these poor people have to rebuild their lives. And there's no coverage of it, but we're covering, they're making Biden look like a saint.
But the crazy thing is like, so you had like the Democratic governments or governance there who basically refused to release water to fight the wildfires because of equity reasons. Have you heard of that?
Yes, that I recently heard. Yeah, it's really a shame that something like this did not bring the country together to help each other. We should be helping each other instead of pushing more of a divide against each other.
We're helping here. I mean, I don't know how it is nationally, but here locally.
Yeah, help.
But
with your
we
community,
have a monster Hawaiian community here. Las Vegas, Henderson is known as the ninth island.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people. I know people that know people that were directly affected. My cousin lives on that island. They're good, luckily, but they're going through some stuff. They know a lot of people that were affected by this. But here locally, it's very nice to see. We've donated tons and tons and tons of money and stuff over there. But nationally, I don't know. But as far as the news and Biden and that kind of stuff goes, I don't know. I don't pay attention to it because it's just status quo. Biden's a piece of shit.
But the
what
thing is,
do you expect?
The leader of our country should be uniting us. There should be some strong.
He hasn't united us ever. Not one fucking time.
That's what I'm saying.
Since
Like
he's been elected.
In a case like this,
so,
there should be some strength to it.
But this is also part of like a pattern that we've seen with this administration in particular.
Yeah.
Where do you guys remember East Palestine, Ohio?
Yeah, yeah,
where
absolutely.
It was like one of the worst natural, not natural, but one of the worst.
I care. Sorry, internet. I care.
One of the worst man-made disasters, in our country. And Biden didn't even bother to show up.
There's still people affected by it too.
He's too busy taking naps.
It was the wrong demographic. It was too much of a white community.
Yeah.
And by the way, this might be a hot take, easily dismissed, but where's this? Have celebrities been rallying
for Maui?
For Maui?
Well, not unless you're from there. Like Jason Momoa, he has.
I mean, maybe
some of those
do a
guys,
telethon or do some sort of event or do something, do like a viral video where I just gave 500,000. I'm hoping all my celebrity friends do the same. I mean, to their credit, celebrities have done this in the past with hurricanes. But I think this is my darkest thought. Maybe the fact that they know it'll reflect badly on Biden, that just the more attention you bring to the hardship there, they got to.
Yeah, I mean, like, where's the TikTok video of all the celebrities singing, "We Are the World" for Maui,
all for Maui.
I saw a funny meme on X, formerly known as Twitter, about how nobody has has replaced their avatars with the Maui state flag as opposed to
a great point.
That's true.
Opposed to the Ukraine flag.
Doesn't it have a rainbow in it? If it had a rainbow in it, maybe it would be better. I want to just really quickly, I need to apologize in the chat. Jim Lakely, it says I hid him in the chat. Like I deleted Jim Lakely.
It might be from StreamYard.
And I did nothing. So I don't know.
I know Jim Lakely. He's a good guy. And how dare you?
I don't like it when stuff like just happens.
You just lost a subscription.
I don't want him to do that.
Guys, you need to realize how technically inept Vader is. like we've had him running our Twitter live stream for like 4 years now, and he still can't figure it out. So whoever got blocked or banned, don't worry, we'll take care of you after the stream is done. We'll go into our settings and make sure that you're not in there. But
he might be back.
That's me.
That's me.
Was that Jim Lakely?
Yeah. So I hopefully he's good. But my bad. Okay. It was an accident.
But I feel like more and more creators are speaking out about stuff that is genuinely wrong in this country. And, you know, I guarantee you that we're going to be yellow money signed by YouTube as soon as the stream is over, just for talking about this
by
stuff.
saying Biden's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it comes down to like this, where you have someone like Oliver Anthony, who is a viral sensation. Nobody knew who this guy was like a couple weeks ago, right? Now, like his whole back catalog is getting downloaded and people are becoming fans of his, and he's becoming a legitimate superstar. But now, like, the mainstream media is trying to cancel him. They're trying to smear him. They're trying to ignore his successes. It goes along with like all creators, right? Where like if you have something that's outside the mainstream narrative, you're instantly a target, and YouTube especially will target you. Like we have so many issues where like we'll finish a live stream, we don't even say anything controversial.
No.
And YouTube will demonetize our stream immediately. They'll say it's not suitable for all advertisers, and you're just like, what did we say? You know, like how are we the bad guys here? Like at what point do advertisers be like, hey, you know, like as long as the audience is there, like we don't care.
Well, that's part of the censorship game, by the way. They don't tell you exactly what you did wrong. A, because they can't, and B, because then they put it in your head, okay, I'm never going to go near the line, or I'm going to avoid certain topics because I don't want to get censored again. So you self-censor. That's how they do it.
Yeah, indeed. They control the pocketbook, and if you want to be monetized, you have to kind of toe the line. But fortunately, we don't care because we have people like William Forbes to support us in our trying times.
I think it's going to be more in that direction, though. I think people are tired of hiding behind things.
Oh, people are fed up.
They're fed up, and it's affecting their own wallet. And I think I know there's still a mob mentality, a cult mentality, but I think it's going to start to shift when you realize like you can't put food on your own table.
It's amazing
if you keep going with this.
It's amazing how all this stuff starts ramping up when we're going directly into a
election season.
So
what a coincidence.
Well, I mean, you know, we kind of talked about Bidenomics earlier in the program, and this idea that if you go to the grocery store, right, eggs used to be like $2 for a dozen. Now they're like $8-9, right?
They went up and then they're down like $5.99.
But even like look at gasoline. The average gasoline price is $5 a gallon. It used to be like $2.75, something like that. We've got a situation here where you know, groceries are more expensive, gas is more expensive, all like the staples, school supplies,
essentials.
Everything's more expensive, and you know, real wages aren't going up. But from what we're hearing from our politicians, it's like, oh, everything's fine, everything's good, no problem.
Well, the good thing is that the poor people don't get impacted by these price raises. They're immune to it. So
people can't buy houses because of the interest rates going on. Most people who have bought their starter house, that's going to be their house for the rest of their life because they were able to get in at a lower percent. I mean,
plus, you know, around here they're selling $160,000 homes for $500,000. It's ridiculous.
And with the whole grocery thing too, I have an autoinflammatory disease. I have to eat a certain way, and it's even way more. It was expensive to begin with because I can't have certain things. It's even double. So I can't imagine people who have conditions where they can't just eat ramen and eggs and just basic necessities.
But if you look at the entertainment industry in conjunction with that, right? Christian, like we talked about this before, but like to go to a movie for like a family of 4, it's well over $100 just to get in the door. And then like, you know, $20 for popcorn and all this other stuff. Like it becomes a huge expense to go to the movies. Yeah, exactly.
Meg 2 is worth it, but most movies aren't.
but like how are consumers supposed to, you know, deal with that going forward, where like it becomes so expensive just to have like a good entertainment experience that you're just trapped in your home and like you're paying maybe like $8 a month for Netflix or something like that.
Yeah. Try Tubi. It's a very good platform. It has commercials, but doesn't have a ton of commercials. And it's got a crush of movies and TV shows. So,
but it's got to be a situation where basically the policies that Hollywood has advocated for are coming back to bite it in the rear because they're making less money because of the politics that they've pushed. And it's getting to a point where like they're not going to be able to justify their expenses. Like Disney's already on the ropes.
Yeah. And even with their parks too, it's expensive to go to. It used to be where you could go to Disney as a family vacation, maybe once a year, maybe once every other year. Now it's again like a house payment, like a house down payment, just to take 2 kids to Disney for a week.
That's 2 tickets.
You could even go to Europe for cheaper than that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's
They're
ridiculous.
out of touch.
Yeah. And it's the same thing I've been saying. It's going to make it to a point where people are going to become more conservative of where they want to spend their money, where they want to do things, where they want to spend their media. I've noticed too, and I don't know, I feel like physical media also is starting to disappear, where things are going to streaming, but they're not going into physical media either.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Anyway, guys, I know Christian's got to head out here real quick. So, Christian, thank you so much for being on the program today.
Sure.
Really appreciate you being here. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share, and where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, I think that we should all do the best we can to support conservative art. Downloading a song, going to a movie, things like that. I mean, we need to kind of support these artists because not everyone's going to be as successful as Oliver Anthony, and we need alternative voices to rise up and just fight censorship wherever you can, and do it on your own terms. You have to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your finances. It's not always easy. I think all of us here can get canceled much quicker than a superstar can. I mean, because they can afford it and we can't. So just everyone's got to be a culture warrior at this point, as the best you can. And at this point, the way I think of it, I embrace like a Bill Maher, even though he votes differently than me, because he's actually for free speech and free expression and not making us into enemies. And I'm all for a big tent at this point. We've got bigger fish to fry. And on that horribly depressing note, my website is hollywoodandtoto.com, and my podcast, isn't that a great segue? And my podcast is the Hollywood and Toto podcast. Recent guests include Clay Travis. Going to have on Tyler Fisher, who's one of those renegade comedians.
I love Clay Travis.
Neither left or right. And I love to interview artists who have been canceled and let them tell their stories, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, and we don't usually like to get too political. Alex likes to say like, hey, we do this to give people an escape from all that BS, but sometimes it's unavoidable to talk about some of these things because it does affect the entertainment that we consume and stuff like that. So apologies to everyone out there who doesn't like the political talk, but we felt like it was just part of the natural conversation going forward. But be sure to check out hollywoodandtoto.com. It's a really good kind of like entertainment news site. Link is in the description. And Christian, thank you so much for being on the live stream today. We're going to go a little bit longer, but we know that you have to head off. But thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Keep up the good work.
Bye.
Bye.
We're going longer?
Just a little bit.
You got more boring political stuff you want to talk about?
Oh, tons. Yeah.
Of course, the episode I'm on, so I'm going to be the one canceled.
Well, we're just going to wrap things up here. So, Matt Vader 74, do you have any final thoughts? And what do we got going on the rest of the week?
Man, I don't know. You totally threw me. What do we got going on the rest of the week?
Who's your guest Saturday?
So we got a special guest coming Saturday. Her name is Jamie French.
Yes.
And she's actually going to be here in the studio with us.
That's cool.
And she's the one who introduced us to Mongbach.
She did not introduce me to mukbangs. I know what mukbang.
Yeah.
Does she do that?
No, she doesn't. She did a brilliant video about them that educated me about all that stuff.
I'll have to check it out.
She has a fantastic YouTube channel, and she's going to be in town, so we invited her to come into the studio to be part of our Saturday live stream.
Doing live stream from here.
But we've got a video coming out on Friday. Matt Vader, do you want to tell people about Dracula on a Boat?
Dracula on a Boat. That's it. It's Dracula on a Boat. It's a whole movie about
Dracula
on a boat when he went from Romania to London.
I read the book.
It's based on the notes in the book.
Yep.
It's actually
was it good?
Quite a fun little watch. I had a great time with it.
We're still on for The Exorcist?
Yeah. Okay. Probably. Yeah.
And what new TV show are we going to be reviewing on Thursdays now that Warrior's over?
Oh, we're going to be now, Johnny. What are we going to be watching this week? We're going to be watching Invasion.
I haven't seen it yet.
Invasion season 2. Don't want to. Not looking forward to it. It's a piece of shit show.
Really?
Yeah, it's awful. But we had a good time tearing it a new one 2 years ago when season 1 came out, and so we promised the people then that we'd watch season 2 when it ever came out. And here we are.
Yeah, so it's a
yay.
show called Invasion on Apple TV. It's
Apple.
about an alien invasion. Nadia, it's literally one of the worst TV shows you'll ever watch in your entire
I
life.
thought Apple's pretty good. They usually put out pretty good bangers.
They do pretty good job.
Yeah.
Usually, this series was an exception. It was not good at all. It's one of the most boring TV shows you'll ever watch. And we covered every single episode in the first season. And if you guys want to check that out, we have a playlist on our homepage, saltynerdvideo.com. Just go there and find it. We had a blast talking about it, but man, did it take a toll. Like you can see the souls being sucked out of us as we go along watching this thing, because it was a week-to-week thing.
Okay.
And when a show is so boring and painful to watch, when you have to go back to it week after week, it just draws out like the pain.
It was one of those shows where it's like, oh God, we're going to record tomorrow. I better watch this stupid show. It is just like,
see, I thought I was going to
it's
check it
bad.
out, but
No,
okay.
don't
waste my
do that.
time. Don't waste my
Don't do
time.
that.
Okay.
Well,
No.
if you want to talk to us about it,
I'll just watch your
free.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
That's what it's for. But Vader, we're also covering another science fiction TV show.
Oh, Ahsoka. We're going to watch Ahsoka.
Mhm.
I am
we're
too.
Well, it's Star
I have
Wars.
to. I have to. So, but I am too.
Yeah.
But we're actually covering it on the Saturday.
Well,
live stream.
we're going to be talking about it on the Saturday stream. You know, we'll give it a little bit of time on Saturday mornings. Not a lot of time, but enough.
I've
you
never
know,
seen Clone
so-
Wars. I don't know who she is.
Well, then you're not going to like it.
but I have to watch it.
Then you need to go watch the essential Ahsoka episodes. You need to go spend about 6 hours. And
No, I'm just going in blind.
well,
I'm just
then
going to
you're
go in.
not-
If it's
you're
good
gonna- Then you're
storytelling,
going to be missing it.
Listen,
because
if it's good
Rebels
storytelling,
season 5.
if it's good storytelling, I'll be able to
Just don't bother.
follow. I
Don't-
have to.
well.
I have to. So I'm going to watch it.
You're doing a nerd show about somebody who you don't know anything about.
The
Because
other
you haven't
ladies.
watched any of the other shit about her.
The other ladies will know who she is, but I'm going in.
Okay.
I will judge it based on its quality of storytelling.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, as someone who hasn't watched any of the cartoons either, it's going to be interesting to see like how they bridge the gap between people who are familiar with all the animated stuff and people who aren't.
Like I have a basic understanding of who she is.
Mhm.
I've never been hooked. I know she's a big character that people
She's
really
Anakin
enjoy.
Skywalker's apprentice.
Yes, I know. That's basically all I know.
Nadia, do you have any final thoughts, and what do you have going on with your stuff that you want to tell people about?
Do I have any final thoughts? No, but don't cancel me for my political points of views. We're dropping an episode tomorrow at the Inside All Day podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify about the Mario movie, where my husband actually dressed up as Mario. So that's gonna be fun.
I saw that. Cute.
Next Friday, I will be premiering with a bunch of lovely ladies. Our live stream is called Dames and Dorks.
Are they all hot? Are you going to show some?
We're all
are
hot.
you gonna show
No,
some
we're not that
cleavage?
kind of live stream.
Are
Sorry.
you going to be
Just-
eating on stream?
No.
Because you'll make $1 million fucking dollars.
Yeah,
if you
no,
just-
we actually want to hold on to our dignity.
Why? What is that?
Yeah, that hasn't gone very well for Jews.
That doesn't
so.
do shit when you if you're going to be a YouTuber and want to actually be successful.
Yeah,
You got to put some tits and ass on the screen.
not with
and,
this one.
You know.
It's called Dames and Dorks.
All right.
It'll be streaming from Inside All Day next Friday on the 31st. It'll be premiering, but all this information, and I'm going to be guesting on a couple shows coming up. Chris as well. Chris will be this Saturday on Nerdy Neo's show talking about video games. But you can follow me at, I keep wanting to say Twitter, on X at Nerd Dollface. And all my
Nerd
stuff is there.
Dollface.
Yeah, at Nerd Dollface.
Yes.
Thank you.
And link to your YouTube channel in the description of this video, so be sure to check that out.
Subscribe,
Yes,
mofos.
exactly.
Let's do this.
Show Nadia some support. So I want to give a shout out to everyone who gave us super chats today. Jeremy Turner, thank you so much. Scotty Dub, Salty Saturday Superstar, thank you for your support as always. But the big one, Matt Vader's super fan, William Forbes, who accidentally gave us 500 when he meant to give us 50.
It's not true.
Man, you're gonna be living off of this for the next couple
I'm
of
not
weeks.
I'm not gonna see a penny of it.
But I'm
So-
not living off of it like financially. I mean, like
Yeah,
a
the ego,
high.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it'll be longer in a couple of weeks.
But thank you so much, William Forbes. So generous. You're going to get a special spot on the Tuesday show for that wonderful super chat. We really appreciate the support. And I know if Alex were here, he'd be shitting his pants.
Oh, I already sent him a text, and he's all, I wish I was there. it's on a jet to like Scotland. And he's like, I wish I was here with you guys right now. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Instead of
sure.
with my wife going across the pond. Yeah. But everyone in the chat, thank you all so much for being here, and everyone who's watched this live stream, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Join us next Tuesday. We're going to try to get even more guests on board to talk about even more nonsense, and we always appreciate you being here. Again, we will be without Alex next Tuesday because he is still going to be out of the country. But hey, if you like the way I host stuff, then it shouldn't be a problem. Ain't that right, Vader?
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
It's
everyone.
like Saturdays all over again.
Yeah.
Only on Tuesdays.
Only on Tuesdays.
Stay salty, my friends. Have a good one.